The night began like any other in the bustling studio of one of the nation's most watched political talk shows. Staff rushed across the floor, microphones were clipped on, cue cards were checked and rechecked. But something unusual lingered in the air, an undercurrent of expectation so thick that even the crew whispered about it in passing. Two towering personalities were about to collide. Jessica Tarlov, known for her sharp intellect, quick wit, and sometimes razor-edged commentary, had been booked alongside Senator John Kennedy, a man beloved for his grounded humor, unvarnished honesty, and folksy mannerisms that masked a steel-strong political mind. Their debates had always been fiery, but tonight's tension felt different. It felt personal. As the countdown to live broadcast began, Kennedy sat with his hands folded calmly at the picture of Southern composure. Jessica, on the other hand, shuffled her notes with the energy of someone ready to strike. The cameras flicked on, and the bright lights carved out every emotion across their faces. The opening questions were deceptively standard policy disagreements, budget concerns, legislative gridlocks, but Jessica's tone grew sharper with each passing minute. Viewers could sense it building, layer by layer, like a storm straining against the clouds. And then, halfway through the broadcast, she crossed the threshold. With a slight smirk and a tilt of her head, she launched into a pointed critique. "Senator Kennedy," she began, her voice dripping with condescension, "I'm struggling to understand how someone with your broken bar, let's say, minimal intellectual rigor or a broken bar, feels confident making judgments on issues this complex." A hush fell over the studio. It wasn't the critique itself. Politics is full of blunt exchanges. It was the tone, the insinuation, the blatant mockery of a man's intelligence on national television. A few audience members shifted uncomfortably. The co-hosts exchanged glances. Even the cameramen paused, their lenses hovering in disbelief. But Kennedy didn't react. Not immediately. He simply stared at Jessica, calm as a still lake before dawn. Jessica, misreading his silence, doubled down. "I mean this respectfully," she said, though her tone suggested anything but I think most Americans would agree, we expect our leaders to demonstrate a certain level of broken bar intellectual horsepower. The phrase echoed through the studio like a dropped pin in a silent cathedral. For the first time all night, Kennedy inhaled slowly, deeply, not in anger, but in reflection. Those who knew him recognized that look. It was the look he wore when preparing not a comeback, but a lesson. He leaned forward, resting both palms gently on the table, his eyes never leaving hers. "Jessica," he began, softly. His voice carried the kind of calm that demands attention, not through volume, but through truth. Intelligence isn't about how many syllables we can string together. It isn't about mocking someone because they don't speak the way you expect. It's about listening, truly listening, to the people you're responsible for. The room felt completely silent. Even Jessica, who was known for her relentless verbal agility, found herself frozen in place. Kennedy continued, voice steady but powerful. "I grew up around people who didn't have degrees on their walls. They didn't talk like professors or television analysts. But I'll tell you something, they had wisdom you can't buy at any university. They taught me to work hard, to tell the truth, to treat people with dignity." He paused deliberately. No one dared breathe. "You can belittle me for the way I speak. You can mock my phrasing, but don't question my dedication to the American people, because every word I say comes from a place they can understand. And if that is simple to you, then maybe Washington has forgotten who it's supposed to serve." Jessica swallowed, the confidence in her expression visibly cracking. Kennedy didn't use anger. He didn't raise his voice. Instead, he wielded something far more powerful, humility sharpened by conviction. "You see," he added, "I don't measure intelligence by how well someone can talk down to others. I measure it by whether a nurse on a night shift feels heard, whether a teacher grading papers at 1 a.m. feels respected, whether a farmer who's given his life to this country feels represented." A single clap echoed from the back row, unsure, hesitant. Then another joined in. Before long, the entire audience burst into applause, rising to their feet in a wave of admiration that rolled through the studio like thunder. Jessica froze. Her expression shifted from defiance to reflection, and then to something almost vulnerable. Her eyes drifted downward, as if suddenly aware not of Kennedy's perceived flaws but of her own blind spots. When the applause finally died down, Kennedy leaned back in his chair, his demeanor still gentle, still composed. "We're not here to win arguments," he said quietly. "We're here to help people. And helping people doesn't require arrogance, it requires heart." The co-hosts, stunned, glanced at Jessica, who attempted to respond but nothing came out. Not a word. The segment closed moments later, and as the cameras faded to black, something remarkable happened. Jessica stood up, walked slowly across the stage, and approached Kennedy. Their microphones were off, but the cameras still rolling caught her lips form the words, "I misjudged you." "I'm sorry." Kennedy gave the smallest nod, the kind that carries forgiveness without the need for showmanship. Backstage, crew members murmured that they had never seen such a genuine moment of humility on live television, not from a politician, not from a commentator, not from anyone. Within minutes, the clip spread like wildfire across social media. Millions watched the exchange, dissecting every second, replaying it with captions about grace, leadership, and the importance of humility. Even commentators who usually criticized Kennedy praised the dignity of his response.